Hello, Danny. Just trying StreamYard out. I like things to be very simple, so strange that it doesn't show you who's actually here. I'd have thought they'd have put a list up to see who's watching. Five people, it says. Hello, Paul. I thought I'd try StreamYard, see how it works. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's very humid here in Gloucestershire, in England. Then. I'm not really sure what the benefits are of using this, if any. Anyway. So, oops. My copy of He Was the One turned up today. Cornetto Effect vinyl, apparently. These are the records I haven't filed yet today. Elvis is Black, yeah, Paul. I don't know if you saw my video. I think it's a ridiculous title. Fortunately, the woke mob don't seem to have spotted it. It's a nice set. I just wish they hadn't called it that. So, not many people. I've not seen anybody else showing it yet. So, I think this record store day business is all a bit of a con. The whole idea is you're supposed to queue up to buy them. But I just went on eBay just after midnight on record store day and they were all there. So I just ordered them. White horses, hello. White horses, but you've got a dog in the picture. Sam, hello. The Mo-Fi from Elvis in Memphis. I haven't actually got it. I've been thinking about it very hard. Do I want to spend £180 on that? Or £180 on some original albums that I don't yet have? I don't know is the answer. I can't make my mind up. Is it worth it? Is any record really worth £180? Probably not. But Jack Russell used to keep wicket for Gloucestershire. Kerry, hello. Not so late this time. I can't afford a horse. So, from Elvis in Memphis, I'm still undecided as to whether to buy it or not. The collector in me is sort of itching to press buy it. It's been a very expensive time lately, being a collector of Elvis stuff. The releases seem to be pretty endless, and they all seem to be aiming at the higher, more expensive end, which is going to knock a lot of fans out of buying all this stuff. They should really space these releases out. I think FTD have been a bit guilty of cramming too many expensive things in to a short period. Like I have ordered the Blue Hawaii, Making of Blue Hawaii box. Again, that was one that at first I thought, no, I'm not going to buy it. But I caved in the end. So, did anybody else get the Elvis's Black set? Kerry, no, it was supposed to have been released by now, but there's no sign of it. I did read on one site that it's been delayed till middle of May. But my money hasn't been taken, and that's the sign that it's in stock. So I don't know what the delay is. I haven't ordered the Madison Square Garden set either. Again, I'm undecided. Things keep cropping up that I want, and it's priorities. Paul. Rock and Roll Number 2. That's one of my all-time favourite covers. I think that cover is amazing. I tried to imagine what it was like when it came out. To me, he looks like some sort of alien who's just landed on Earth. It's a fantastic cover. I wish whoever designed that had worked for RCA. So you could very easily spend over £1,000 in a few days on all these latest releases. Getting out of hand. Kerry, I don't like the title Elvis is Black. No, I think it was a stupid title. It's a really nice set, though. The problem is, of course, that if anybody decides to take offence, they're not going to look inside and read the book, which is all about how Elvis definitely wasn't a racist and embraced black culture. But also, they do need to make it clear that he embraced country music, all kinds of music. The film recently has sort of slanted it a bit. So we do need to remind people that he wasn't singing black music. He created a new synthesis of black and white music of all different forms into something new. I was thinking when you listen to the King Creole album, there's nothing else that I've ever heard that sounds like that. When you listen to other sort of rockabilly and rock and roll singers, their music is great, but it doesn't sound like Elvis. He's like a genre all of his own. I'm also running out of space on the shelves. I'm starting to have to pack these in so tight now that it becomes difficult to pull an individual album out. So I think I need to do some rearranging. At the moment, I don't see any great advantage to using StreamYard. I was fine with these programs that they fill it with options and buttons, and 99% of them you never actually need to use. Keep it simple is what I say. Now, comments are appearing faster on my iPad than they are on here. It's a bit. If I move my iPad in front of me. Right. White horses. At 60, I've decided to work less and spend less. Well, my motto has always been to work less. When people say to me, what do you do for a living? I always say as little as possible. But I'm lucky that my work for the past 18 years was my hobby. So I get paid to do something I really enjoy. It costs more today to collect Elvis than it was when I was a kid. Yep. Yeah. The reason I was attracted to Elvis is simple: gospel, blues, country, ballads, and good and rock and roll. Absolutely. There isn't really anything that he couldn't have sung, I don't think. And because he always surrounded himself with world-class musicians and backing singers, even if he's singing the most awful song, it's done fantastically well. And that's what sort of saves some of the soundtrack albums. The songs themselves might not be good, but his performance and the musicians are all top-notch. I do sometimes think about what we missed out on with him dying so young. I mean, he should have had another 20 years of recording ahead of him. Kerry, hello. Yeah. I was thinking today the gold box set that had the first release of the Pearl Harbor concert, and I just think, imagine the concerts he could have given in the 60s. He could have done an entire show just singing #1 hits. Marcus, hello. So although he gave us so much, we missed out on so many things, and of course the world tour that never was. Now, Joey, is your name pronounced Josip? Is that correct? I'm guessing. White Horses. There's loads of post-80s songs I would have loved to hear Elvis sing. Absolutely. Oh, God. I've said it before, I'm also a Bob Dylan fan. And his 3 religious albums, I would have loved to have heard Elvis singing some of those songs. Good. Paul, could you imagine the Beatles singing Go Home MacDonald and make it sound passable? No. I've never been a Beatles fan. Joseph, that is correct, my friend. Excellent. I can't call you Joey because of the Bob Dylan song, Joey. I'll just keep hearing it, Joey. Dear. See, the good thing about being a Bob Dylan fan is you can sing the songs, because it doesn't matter how badly you sing. But there's a lot of Dylan songs I would have loved Elvis to have sung. And of course, Bob Dylan himself said of all the covers of his own songs that have ever been done, Tomorrow's a Long Time is the one he treasures the most. Marcus, Beatles fan. And there was always this thing, I don't know if it was the same in America, there was this thing in the UK that you were either a Beatles fan or you were an Elvis fan. Why, I don't know. It's very humid here today. And of course, this bright light in your face doesn't help. Anyway, this is where I put my records that waiting to be filed. So these are all the new things I've had in. So of course there's that one. So I've now got the 3 new record store day releases, and I didn't queue up. We have only one record store in Cheltenham that does record store day, so the queues are enormous. But about half an hour's drive away, there's a small town called Stroud, and for some reason they have 3 independent record stores who do record store day. So if I did decide to actually go in person, I'd get the bus there, I think. But I just got them off eBay. Yosik, my first VPI record. They do very good releases. Oh, Marcus has got Elvis is Black. It's a really good set, isn't it? I just wish they hadn't called it Elvis is Black. I was calling it Elvis is Black. The first song should have been If You're Looking for Trouble, You've Come to the Right Place. I've just picked up the stereo red spot of Roustabout, which I didn't have. Still got a few. I do like the look of the red spot. Still got a few more to find. And the South African Roustabout. And of course the Burning Love. So I've got to, oh, and today this arrived. I shall cover up the title of the album. Let's see if you can guess which album this is. And in the top corner, Yugoton. So this is from Yugoslavia. So what album do you think this is? What a great design of a cover. Look, great big empty black space at the top. So any guesses? My Address. Ooh. It's actually not my address. I don't have my post sent to my address. It's a shop address, Q&C Militaria, 22 Suffolk Road. Not my home. There's never anyone here when the postman comes, so I have an agreement to send it there. Marcus, correct. Love Letters. What an awful cover. What on earth were they doing? Very poorly printed. But I love it. I love these foreign, not foreign if Yugoslavia, there is no such place as Yugoslavia anymore. But I love things like this. An album we all know, but completely different to what we're used to. Really flimsy card cover. Oops. Oops. It's difficult having to do everything backwards. Yeah, very cheaply made. The printing, it almost looks like it was done on a photocopier. It's faded. But this is exactly how it looks. The nice thing was, because the person selling it thought it was in very poor condition, so they didn't charge a lot. Of course, this is the condition it's always in. So that's good, because of course the 70s albums, there isn't that much variation around the world, not like there was in the 60s. Josip, that would come from the capital Croatia, Zagreb. Yep, I think it's got Zagreb on it, hasn't it? Did I see that? Yep. I don't speak the language, but it looks like Poduseci za izradu gramofonsk plocha Zagreb to brother. There you go. You didn't know I spoke whatever language that was. Hello, Mal. Kerry, it's originally my plan was to collect all the UK releases. Josip. Parents are from Croatia. Yeah. There are some Roman remains in Croatia I wouldn't mind seeing. In my other life, I'm a Roman history buff. And I picked up a new CD. Elvis Latino. This is from Argentina. So they've selected all the songs that have a sort of Latin feel to them. Including Ala and El Rancho Grande, which for some reason they feature on the front cover. So, Industria Argentina. Oops. So now Mal's it. It's a bit like the gang getting together. Yeah, it's an interesting cover. Can't quite work out. There's a little silver sticker there, which I can't quite work out what it is. I'd like to get the there's a couple of Mexican promos with drawings of Elvis on the front. One he's wearing a sombrero. They look so bizarre that I would like to get them. But then I have a very, 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 very long list of things I would like to get. And that's a problem. Do you spend £180 on from Elvis in Memphis Mafia, or do you spend £180 on a selection of other things? What to do? And of course, if you don't buy it, and in a year's time it's £300-400, then you kick yourself. Oh yeah, I don't know what's happened. Payment hasn't been taken yet for it, so they obviously haven't got it yet. Which is a bit disappointing. I think if you have a release date, you release it on that date. You know, you've obviously had this in the pipe work for many, many months. You've come up with a date, so everything's presumably ready. So what's happened? White horses. Do you ever sell any of your collection? No. I do have doubles. Sometimes, like quite recently, I went to a record fair. Very excited over a particular album which I bought. Came home, went to catalogue it, and already had it. But what I've tend to have done in the past is give it to a young collector. Try and get them interested. I've given a couple of things away on here. If I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll find something nice to give away. Josip, April 28th. Right. Somebody had said it was going to be the middle of May, but if you've heard April 28th, then hold on, it's the 29th. What do you mean May 28th? I do wish, though, they take a break from these very expensive sets. Josip, you need to talk to my wife and tell her I'm a great guy. Kerry, does your wife ever give you a hard time about the money you spend on Elvis music? No. I pretty much pay for everything in the house, because I lived alone for many years, so I got used to sort of handling everything. So when she moved here, she obviously needed to get herself set up and that. So I said, well, I'll carry on paying for everything, because I would be paying if you were here or not. So the money that she earns, she can spend on shoes, handbags, and wine for some reason. So, boy, if you get 1,000, buy a bloody record player. Yeah. But it's the same as with the expensive, the Mo-Fi. I've looked at record players and I've worked out roughly what I'll need to spend to buy something decent that's worth having. And then I think, I could buy something, a really good record with that. What do you think of the new RSD Elvis Black? I think it's a really good set with a really lousy title. But I was impressed with it. Oh, hold on a second. Sounds like... What are you doing, Johnson? Got a visitor. What are you doing? Hey? Wow, come here. Yeah, you bugger. Come here. Come and say hello. There you go. Say hello. Hello. I have to be careful because tramples all over the keyboard. No, 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 no. Get down now. That's it. You go downstairs. Yeah. I do wonder why they came up with that title. What were they thinking? I was trying to think of an alternative title, but I've not come up with something yet. Oh, I wonder if we'll get a thunderstorm. It's gone really humid. Kerry, yes. She just moved in. She appeared in the back garden. I have a very quiet back garden. So she would come in there and sleep. And if I even looked out the back window, she'd sort of bolt. But then she got used to me being around, so I put some water out and then some food, and now she's moved in. Well, it's just another hits album, really. Aren't they all? It's something that I'll probably buy, and even if I do get a record player, I'll probably never put it on. I tend to play the same few releases that covers most things. Oh, thank you, Kerry. I don't feel so bad now. Half the people that buy vinyl don't have a record player. There you go. I'm justified. So is Elvis's Black the worst record type? Elvis Sings for Children and Grown-Ups too is pretty awful. Of course, having fun with Elvis on stage is just... So... Well, I got lazy in that I created a lot of playlists on my iPad, and that's pretty much all I listen to now. You believe there will be any more releases this year? There's going to be, isn't there? They're not going to stop. The problem is now we've got And we've got Memphis Recording Service, we've got Follow That Dream, we've got VIP. And then you've got all these other companies who are re-releasing versions of older albums. It's getting to the stage where I think, is it worth buying them? Because they're just rehashing them for the sake of selling something. Where do we draw the line? That's the problem. Elvis Tus. Hello, greetings from Germany. Why are you in Germany? Aren't you the Finnish chap? What do you want? I haven't got anything. Go down. I am living. Right. I'd rather live in Finland. I love living. I was in Finland for 3 years and I loved it. Minun nimeni on Steve. Josip, I would be more interested in buying original pressings. Absolutely. That's the thing. I want to get the original pressings, and from all around the world. Tony, I personally don't mind the title Elvis is Black. It's what's inspired him, and he said so. I've met other Sun artists here in the UK who wouldn't share an hotel with black performers. Right. It's a really nice set. I just think in these times of heightened, well, it's beyond sensitivity, it's ridiculous. But thankfully nobody seems to have complained about it. So maybe we should stop talking about it. My cat used to be the same way. They drive you potty, don't they? Thank you, very good. I did the introduction to the Finnish language course at Helsinki University Language Centre. That was a long time ago, so I don't remember. I remember Uksi Kaksi Kolmi Neljä Viisi Kuusi Seitsemän Kahdeksan Yhdeksän and so on. I can still remember a few phrases. Excuse me a second. I'll have to go down. Come on then. Come on then. Come on then. Come on then. Johnson. Come on then. Come on then. Come on then. Come on down then. Come on down. Right. Oops. Now then, where was I? Counting in Finnish. Now you see, you'll have to get a copy of my book. My book. I had a very nice letter from the Finnish military attaché in London. I sent him a copy. Mal, have you bought any more 60s original stereos? Yep, I just, what did I do with it? I recently got, this week, Roustabout Red Spot stereo. So, I think there's 5 or 6 I still need to find. And a mono clambake. I have seen them all around, but I do like the red spot for some reason. I just like the look of the red spot. So, by coincidence this week that came, and so did my South African. I was finding this weird that they thought it was all right to just take the text out and just leave that there. How poor is that in design terms? It wouldn't take a lot to just remove it completely or put something there. But no, let's just have a great big empty space there. Yep, nice. And for anyone that doesn't know, the way you can tell straight away it's South African is popular up there. So if you see an album with that on it, it's South African. So I do like to buy all these releases from around the world. There's a Swedish album that I really want to get. It's a great cover of Elvis on stage in the 70s. I can't think what it was called. And I also want to get the Portuguese That's the Way It Is, which is a completely different cover. And I also want to get the long list, the Japanese on stage quadraphonic, which is about, I could buy it. There is a gatefold release of it, and there's a single sleeve release. So I'm holding out for the gatefold. I did. Excuse me. Right, cat's outside. Who let the cat out? I did. Well, no, we talked about this earlier. I can't make my mind up. £180 would probably buy most of the missing stereo red spots. Do I spend it on that? I'll probably give in and buy it in the end. But as I haven't got a record player, what benefit am I going to get other than actually having it? I don't know. Can't make my mind up. I've been told by my wife that we need a new bathroom. That's going to be several £1,000s. But I just think of all the records I could buy with that money. I am going to have to rearrange my my storage, because it's now, they are so tightly packed together now that to get one album out I have to put out about 10, I think, and then trying to put them back in is difficult. It's getting a bit out of hand. I thought when I had these shelves put in that I'd sort of cracked it, but there's just so many things to put out. And well, I'm after Elvis's back stereo gatefold. Can't find one anywhere. No, I've not seen one. It'll probably be very expensive if you find one, especially if it's in really nice condition. When I buy an album, it doesn't have to be in perfect condition. Albums have had a life, so I don't like them with ripped covers or if somebody's scribbled all over it. But other than that, I'm not that bothered. Kerry, do you collect Elvis CDs from around the world? I try not to, but it's the same problem. I see something like that, that Argentinian Elvis Latino And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, I've got to have that. So no doubt I will be. I've got some from various places. And all these things like this keep turning up. I got this at HMV, but remarkably cheap. So if somebody's starting out as an Elvis fan today, they can actually buy pretty much all of his recordings for a relatively small amount of money. Sets like this, sort of £4 or £5. And there's so many different versions of them now. I'm just a bit I don't like the fact that FTD, MRS, VIP, all these different companies, they're producing really nice stuff, but it's expensive. So especially FTD, I think they should really have concentrated on producing their sort of 3 or 4 cheaper CDs each year, with the occasional deluxe box set. But it's relentless. Mark, hello. The Elvis Cup guy, what's up? My credit card debt is what's up. All these releases, they're just one after another. They need to stop. Give us some breathing space. So who else bought Elvis's Black then? Because I've not seen it that many people on YouTube showing it. Has everyone avoided it? Yeah, it's relentless. It's just constant. Every time I sort of dread going on eBay and putting in Elvis Presley vinyl, and there's just an endless stream of expensive new sets and albums, and so there comes a point where you just have to say, no, I can't keep buying this stuff. I think if there's a legitimate reason to come up with a new set, but all these what's it called, not now music, where they're just reproducing soundtrack albums with a different cover, 180 gram vinyl, plonk. And I think, no, I don't really need to keep buying these. I do like the music on vinyl releases, so I might just concentrate on getting the rest of those. Josep, you're going to let real life get in the way of discussing Elvis? Yeah. I always dread looking and seeing something that I just have to have. This is the problem with Blue Hawaii. I recently bought my 34th copy. Thanks, Joseph. See you around, no doubt. And I've actually seen a 35th for sale. Some company called Glamorama, and you get what looks like an EP as a bonus. Don't know if anybody's actually got that yet. So the two albums that I've got the most copies are of Blue Hawaii, and the second one is Fun in Acapulco. Mark, thanks for dropping in. I haven't been in a library for years. It's all online now. It's one of the problems. Kids don't read books anymore. Yes, Mark, I really like Fun in Acapulco. I think it's a great soundtrack. So, how many have we got now? 17 people. I used to read constantly. I used to have a pile of books. Sometimes I had more than one book on the go. But even I'm now finding it. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Even I'm finding it difficult to concentrate to read a book, which is sad. I do still have books, but I find I can't read for more than 5 minutes. I do try and keep up with all the latest discoveries in the world of Roman history. That's always fascinated me. And military history, of course, that's my job. So, John, hello. Watching from the beginning, so not live. John says his collection has come on leaps and bounds since finding my channel. Thank you. I did occasionally I see things on eBay which I think are bargains, and they're nice. So I did think of maybe putting a little thing on the community page to alert people, like I did with the Legend Gold box CD, the world's first CD set of Elvis. So I might start doing that, help people to pick up some nice pieces, because they do turn up. A lot of people don't know the difference between one copy of an album and another copy of an album. So if they look online and they say, oh, Blue Hawaii, you can buy it for $5, but they might have a particularly unusual copy. So that's how I buy a lot of my stuff. I'm lucky in that in my day job I can have eBay open and just keep refreshing for new stuff. So I've picked up some nice things very cheaply that way. But where I've already got it, I could let people know. Well, books. James Bond hardbacks. First editions. One of the big drawbacks, I mean, I've got a lot, my particular interest, my own personal interest when I military history was the Gloucestershire Regiment, my home county regiment, best regiment in the British Army. And I bought a lot of very early regimental histories, which cost a fortune. And now, of course, they're all reprinted and they're all available online. So I'll probably never get my money back when I come to sell them. But I just like old books, the feel of them, and yeah. As far as Elvis books, there hasn't been a lot. I think the last one that I actually read was the Destined to Die Young. David, hello. So, did everybody read that one? Kerry, do you forget what you have and buy double? Yep. Yep, I did it quite recently. At a record fair, there was a nice copy of Girl Happy, American, was it mono or stereo? I can't remember. But, I got very excited and bought it, came home, went to catalogue it, and it now sits next to my other copy of it. But yeah, I've done it, particularly with singles. I find singles hard to keep track of. I've actually now catalogued everything, and I've got it on my iPad, which I tend to carry most places with me. So, David, could you hold up his black set, please, for track listing? Oh, dear. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. So it's a mixture of master takes and outtakes. I don't really understand the song selection. But it's very nice. And of course, what I didn't show at the time was the vinyl, which is multicoloured. Of course, if we want it for the sound quality, is multicoloured vinyl the best way to go? It's a really well done set. I really like it. I just wish they could have thought of some other title for it. It always does look very suntanned on there. But there's a lot of times when you look at pictures of him, he could pass for a black guy. Now I agree, the booklet inside is really interesting. My fear was that the wrong people would just see the title, they're not going to read the book. And these days, sadly, truth and facts don't make any difference. As we've seen recently with Black Cleopatra. Well, I'm glad that people are not putting up with it anymore. You know, I would be as offended if they'd had a white Nelson Mandela in a film. David, from Army Era. The tracks on here, they go from the Sun recordings up to One Broken Heart for Sale. So I don't really understand what was behind the song selection. Anyway, I need to spend a bit of time with it. But with so many new releases, quite often I'm just putting them on the shelf and the next one comes along and you don't get time to sort of sit down and, David, have you played it yet? I still don't have a record player. Kerry, I've heard they only press 1,500 copies. Apparently so. Now, the ridiculous nature of eBay, my copy I paid £70 for. If you go on eBay now, you'll find them, you can get them around £70–80. Other people listed them at 250. So eventually all of the cheaper ones are going to disappear. And then if you want it, you're going to have to pay 250. So if you're thinking of getting this, get it as soon as possible. Because when you're only left with the 250 option, people will start buying it at that, and that'll become the value. Well, public domain and what's available. Yeah. Of course, one of the great shames now with public domain is that Elvis is selling a lot of records, but they're not going to count towards his total sales. Because who's recording the numbers sold? Who's reporting them? So he's probably selling more albums right now than most current artists, other than the big stars. But the record sales aren't going to be noticed by anyone. They're not going to appear in the charts because they're so spread out amongst all these releases. Tony, mine was 48. Yep. Yeah, I said before, it's the strange thing about Record Store Day. They make all this fuss about you need to queue up. But no, they were available online very quickly. But you need to shop around, as we've seen. Tony got his for 48. I paid 75? But you might have to pay 250. David, have you got your collection insured? No, I haven't. No. I never had my medal collection insured either. But I took a lot of measures to make sure it was safe. Kerry, do you have any King Creole stuff? King Creole. Finding things is my problem. I don't know if you've seen on. I explained on one of my videos. The very first record in my collection was the UK single King Creole Dixieland Rock. Because my dad trained as a cinema projectionist, and that was the first film that he showed. So he bought the single, and I've still got it. That was my first Elvis record. So I've got the singles, I've got the EPs, British and American albums. I've got some here. As I said before, getting anything out of this stack now is getting difficult. So what have I got? So that's a UK red spot. I should have to put them down here and then put them all back after. That's the American staggered stereo. Which I like. It's not in bad condition. The top's gone, unfortunately, but other than that, it's in pretty good condition. So what else have we got? This is the international label green. It's funny, when I was first collecting, some of the other people that I knew who were collecting sort of looked down on the green international label. It was cheaper, but now people are collecting them. Have I got any more here? I think that's all I got here. Hang on, what's this one? Okay, this is the original UK large silver spot. Oh, and another one. Okay, this is the South African. So like I said before, up here we've got Popular. I'll just show you this because it's... So they have a large black spot. Makes you think. I would like to get the Japanese pressing. Is there any more yet? I think that's it there. So that's the ones there. Kerry, what was your most valuable Elvis recording in monetary terms? The things that cost me the first two HMV albums released in the UK. They're expensive. And of course, where have I put them? My original Baby Let's Play House and Mystery Train. They cost me a bit. And then probably next in line for costing money are some of the early FTDs that I didn't get at the time. They cost a ridiculous amount of money. But there's a lot of albums that I paid far too much for, really. But I just want them. I would say I never regretted something that I've bought, but things that I could have bought and I didn't haunt me. So if you see something you want, buy it. It's easy to say. I'm trying to think, have I got any of the other King Creole EPs from other countries? Can't remember. I see these things, I think I'd like to get that. I don't always remember if I did get it or not. I'm gonna have to go through my EPs. I've got all the British and American EPs. I've got a good selection of French ones. One area I haven't got many is Australian. The Australians seem to love their EPs. They've got a lot of very unusual ones. So maybe that's something I'll start buying. Oops. And of course the Japanese albums. I like the Japanese albums. The other quad I'd like to get is from Elvis in Memphis. The Japanese did a quad version of that. But that seems to be very hard to find. Sean, hello Steve. Any thoughts of renting Elvis's room at the Grunwald Hotel in Germany? Never been to Germany. What do they charge? I suppose it'd be fun to stay somewhere that Elvis stayed, though of course there's going to be nothing in that room that dates to when he was there. If the walls could speak. Lila Hale. Now that this is settled, what is your thoughts on the Elvis movie? I was very unsure before it happened. I was pleasantly surprised by his performance and by the version of the story it told. May not have been the absolute truth, but the central direction of it was something that I'd always thought. I've always thought that Parker did more harm to Elvis and his career than good. Elvis outgrew him as an artist. Parker was a very low-level carnival guy who landed the biggest star in history and treated him like a circus juggler. You know, he should have been selling He should have been performing in huge stadiums instead of 10,000-seater. He should have been doing a world tour. He should have had access to the best songwriters. And Parker was, selling cheap buttons and completely missing all the big stuff. So I enjoyed it when I saw it. I watched it several times and I've not watched it since. Can't really see a reason to watch it again. But it did a lot of good. I watch a lot of people on YouTube who react to music, and the number of people who've discovered Elvis through that film. One chap that I respect his opinion on, he's a Hollywood scriptwriter, works on films and TV shows, and had no interest in Elvis at all. He saw the film. He's now got a big Elvis collection, and he raves about him. Kerry, thanks for dropping in. See you next time, no doubt. So overall, I think it's done a lot of good, and that's the important thing. David, have you got the 2 box sets on vinyl, Gold Award hits? I do, they're up there. Yeah. Paul, do you have the 64-65 UK reissue of King Creole 7-inch? Not the Tri-Center. I honestly don't know. I'll have to have a look. I'll have a look. So you say it's the only 45 missing from your UK collection. So does that mean that you've got bam, it's just slipped out my brain. Take good care of her. UK pressing. Man, what's the most you'd pay for a silver or red spot 60s stereo? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I'd have to be confronted with it before I decide. I dread to think. I've paid a lot of money for things over the years, but I've got them. That's the thing. Lila, favourite Elvis era? I hate questions like that. I feel guilty answering them. I do. I do really like the 70s, but I also really like the 50s and 60s. Lila, what you've got to remember about the films, Elvis is really good in them. His performances are good. The musicians are good. If you go and look at other films made in the same period by other pop stars, they are absolutely awful. So even Elvis's bad films are of a higher standard. So I think we judge them too harshly. They were typical of their time. People tend to look at them today and like, oh, what a stupid film. But they're sort of judging them by today's standard. At the time, they were, the expected normal film that you'd go along to the cinema to watch. And they are far superior to anything else. Why do the critics not say, oh, the Beatles films, what a load of rubbish? Because frankly, they were rubbish. All right, the songs might be good, but the films were not. Cliff Richard, Tommy Steele, Frankie Avalon. There's a long list of these people who made this kind of film, and they are terrible films. Sean, watch the Spa Guy video. Spent a night there. About £108 a night. £108 a night isn't actually that bad. I'll have a look. Have they tried to make it look like the room in The Period? Are there photographs of the room at the time? I'm not sure. Poor Dan, 2 singles I need. Yeah, that's the killer. I've never actually seen one, only a picture of one. I don't know anybody who's got it, but they must be out there. David, look up the Todd Slaughter videos on YouTube. I will. Make a note, because my memory is not great. So, something else to hunt for on YouTube. It always surprises me just how much footage there is of Elvis in the 70s on YouTube. Some of it really well shot. I remember when the Elvis fan club in Gloucester, which is a city not far away from where I live, was very active. We would go along there. They'd have a Saturday event. They'd go along there and they would have VHS tapes of Elvis concerts. And the quality was just awful. But some of the stuff that's coming out now is very impressive. Of course, today, if Elvis had been performing, everybody has got their phone on them with a really good camera. Anyway, I keep thinking about everything we missed with Elvis. It's frustrating when you read about the recording session in Nashville in was it January, February 77, where everybody turned up for the session except Elvis. Mal, been to many of them in Gloucester years ago. Might have seen you there. Yeah. I was trying to remember the name of the Diane and somebody, wasn't it, who ran it? I used to enjoy those. So I don't know, the sort of branches seem to have fallen away. I'm still a member of the fan club, though it doesn't seem to do much. Elvis back on tour. Is that the one where they travelled around the venues that Elvis performed in? David, at the Elvis fan club convention in the 70s, most of his films were unavailable. Yeah. We are spoiled. You know, an Elvis film on television used to be a big thing. Now we've got them all sat on our shelves. Do we actually watch them? Whereas when they appeared on TV, because it was so rare, you made a point of sitting down and watching it. I do try and watch a film every so often. Just to refresh my memory. I actually noticed in HMV, when I went in there, I had a quick look in their DVD section. And there were Elvis films there. Like £3. I should have picked them up at the time. I'll have to go back and get them. And I noticed they had the Blue Hawaii in 4K, I think it was. Which, again, I should pick it up. It wasn't expensive. David, do you remember 1977 Christmas? BBC played an Elvis film every morning. Yeah. Yep. And when BBC Two on a Saturday afternoon used to do series of films, and they also did a series of Elvis films. But the way things are now, are they ever going to be shown again on the main channels? My other big memory of films is the Horror Double Bill, BBC Two, Saturday night. Used to love them. They would have like one of the black and white classics followed by a Hammer. I love horror films. It's another thing that I have loads of books on, the history of horror films. And very early on, my dad, he won a video player when they were new things. So we connected it up. Of course, we didn't have any videos. So a friend of his said, "Oh, I'll lend you some." And they were just blank tapes with a label on, which he'd obviously copied them from somewhere. So my parents went out, and me and my sister, let's watch a video. So we put this video in, and it was The Exorcist. And we were too scared to get up and turn it off. Jesus Christ. That gave me nightmares for a long time. A fantastic film. Very different to any other horror film I've seen. In very slow build up and then just bang. But not recommended for viewing when you're about 12 years old. David, they play a lot. Talking Pictures Freeview channel. Right. I don't actually have a television. I haven't got a record player. I haven't got a television. We watch everything on iPad or computer. I didn't want to pay for a license anymore because the anti-British broadcasting company can get lost as far as I'm concerned. Man, I bought a Philips video player before VHS. Was that Betamax? I remember Betamax was a thing. Apparently Betamax was better quality than VHS. It just didn't win out for some reason. Elvis in Concert was the first Elvis. Yeah. I don't know where we got it from. We had one of these reel-to-reel recorders, and I set up the microphone in front of the TV, and I recorded Elvis in Concert on that, and the sound quality was amazing. Paul, I do wish that the companies would get together and do a DVD box set of Elvis movie songs all in one place. Yeah, that would be a very long set. So we can put that on the list. We want Elvis on Tour, deluxe DVD, Blu-ray edition of all remaining footage. And we do want Elvis in Concert. It's time that was restored. The quality was restored, recut, take out the fans' comments, put in some of the great performances that they didn't include. It's time we got it. It's part of his story. I don't know if there's anything left from That's the Way It Is that they haven't already slipped out in one way or another. But what we want is the ultimate edition that has got everything in it, because it isn't annoying when you buy a set that says, you know, Elvis, That's the Way It Is, and then another set comes out with a few extra bits on, and then another thing comes out with a few extra bits on. We want the definitive release. I don't really understand what's held them up with Elvis on tour. Give it to Follow That Dream. Tell them to do a special Blu-ray version. I do wonder if any footage still exists from any of the movies where songs were cut out. Summer Kisses, Winter Tears. Lonely Man, of course, in the trailer for Wild in the Country, you actually see Elvis singing Lonely Man. Does that footage exist somewhere? Stepping Out of Line. You see in Blue Hawaii where it fits in. So does any of this footage? Are there any blooper reels of Elvis films? What's happened to all this stuff? Did they really not keep any of it? Or is it sitting on some dusty shelf in a vault somewhere, unrecognised, slowly degrading? Kerry, I like Change of Habit. Yeah, I like Change of Habit. I've watched it several times. I do like it. I came across a young chap on YouTube who did a thing reviewing Elvis's film career. And he had a lot of really good points to make. But the thing that really bugged me and put me off it was he's obviously been to university, because he kept pointing out that here we have a racial stereotype of this, and here we have this, and gender, blah, blah, blah. And it drove me nuts. Those were, naive, more innocent times with things like that. There was nothing that would have been intentional. Elvis wouldn't have allowed it. But he's pointing all this stuff out and he's putting it into people's heads. I'll say my definition of woke is viewing every possible human interaction in the worst possible light. We don't need it. Lyle, any plans to go back to Graceland? I had been planning to go, when was it? 2018? And I'd actually started making the plans and it all fell through. Obviously I would like to go, but I'm sort of reaching that stage now where the thought of long distance travel is becoming a bit off-putting. One of the problems with having problems with having a wife from another country is every time we come to holidays, you feel that you need to go and visit her family. So it does become a bit restrictive. So I don't have any plans. I don't know is the answer. Maybe one day. Maybe when I retire. If I ever get to retire. We'll see. Part of me thinks, do I really want to go back? When I went, it still felt like Elvis's house. You know, the cars were just parked in the back lawn. It didn't feel like a museum. It felt like you were walking into his house. Now I get the impression that you're walking into a sterile museum. Of course, I would still like to see it, but I don't know. Maybe one day, but no plans at the moment. My wife's too busy spending all my money on doing the house up and things that apparently we really need, that I've done without for 50 years, but apparently we really need them. My other thoughts on Elvis deep fake videos. I'm not keen on deep fake, because if you can deep fake something good, you can deep fake something bad. I've seen some quite impressive ones, but it's still not Elvis. So they're a novelty, but I'm not sure I would want to go very far with them. David, Danny should never have been cut from King Creole. I agree. It's a great song. I remember when it came out, I really liked it. And why did they cut it? It would have been fine as played over the introduction. Strange how these things come out. But did they film it? And if they did film it, has it survived? I was trying to think of what, after Elvis died, and we all wondered what was there in the vaults in terms of totally unheard of songs. And we got Beyond the Reef, I remember, B-side of It's Only Love. And in Plantation Rock, Danny. It's different now. I like that. I'm glad it's an almost complete. Well, it's pretty complete. And of course, the newly discovered Sun recordings, which are fantastic. Never thought I would get to hear him sing My Happiness. When I first heard that, it blew me away. Just the thought that this is the first recording and it's survived. And the surprise of I'm a Roustabout turning up. I remember when I went to Memphis, I went to this thing in a hotel where a chap was talking, and he said that he'd been speaking to a guy who worked as a sound engineer on some Elvis sessions, and he told him that he was in the studio when Elvis recorded a song called Bad Penny for Frankie and Johnny. Now, why would he lie about that? And if he wasn't lying, where is this track? Where is We Had It All? Is there no recording of Feelings from the Jungle Room sessions? All these things Elvis is said to have recorded. Kerry, unfortunately, have yet to make it to Graceland. Is it a long journey for you to Graceland, Kerry? Because that's what's really putting the kibosh on me, is the thought of long journeys. When you're younger, it's a great adventure. When you get a bit older, it's like, oh God, do I really want to sit on a plane for 8 hours? Paul, I feel the same as regards going back to Graceland. I went twice in '88. Memphis has changed so much. Yeah, I think everyone that went early on was lucky. Like I was saying, the great thrill of getting to Pat Rising Sun. That's memories just clear in my head. That beautiful horse just there in front of me, putting my hand up and just saying hello, and getting to meet Charlie Hodge. There are so few people now that actually worked with Elvis that you can have any hope of meeting, and eventually they'll all be gone. It's a bit depressing. I was saying to somebody recently, you keep hearing in the news somebody's died that when you were younger they were stars and they were people you grew up with and watched, and they're all disappearing, and you think, blimey, I'm getting nearer the top of the heap. Hoover Erta. Yep. Things start to come back. Hoover Huamenta, Hoover Paiva, Hoover Erta. See, the Finnish language is still stuck in there somewhere. Things do come back. Manantai, Tiistai, Keskiviko, Torstai, Perjantai, Lauantai, Sunnuntai. Oh, all the Finnish words you never needed to know. Paul had a chat with Uncle Vesta. Was he still at the gate? David, I would love to hear all the outtakes and the making of Don't Be Cruel. Yeah, you have to wonder what the Christmas album, the first Christmas album, what happened to those tapes? Sean, Jerry Schilling almost looks... He does. He must have one heck of a painting in his attic. Some people have that lucky gene, don't they, that they look young. Paul in the shop. Right. I saw somebody went to Graceland and there was some exhibition on that had nothing to do with Elvis. And I thought, well, that's really bad. Because that is, you know, that's... Why? If it's got nothing to do with Elvis, it don't belong there. It's becoming a public attraction rather than a place of, what you say, almost pilgrimage. So it's like it's no longer aimed at the fans, it's aimed at the general public, the sort of passing tourist, is the impression I get, which is a shame. I do wonder what its status is. I mean, is it possible that Lisa and his daughters could decide to just sell it? Or does it have some kind of trust status where it's going to be preserved? We've still got 20 people watching. 21. As if by magic the shopkeeper appeared. Who recognises that? From the depths of childhood. David, I actually spoke with DJ Fontana about the Christmas album, and he told me those sessions were difficult to perfect. Right. Oh, I'd love it if they found the tapes. I'd love to hear them. It's not impossible that they're out there somewhere. Sean. Prize to Sean, Mr. Ben. Oh dear. Walk this way, Mr. Ben. Kerry, thank you for asking. I'm feeling a lot better. The tests I had all came out. Everything was fine. The medication they put me on for high blood pressure seems to be doing its job. I think I got a bit anxious because I've never been ill in my life. Never been in hospital, never been on medication, never had a serious illness, never broken anything. And I think it just came as a bit of a shock. And your brain can do all sorts of things to your body. I had this really tight feeling in my chest. But I'm a bit more relaxed now and starting to feel a bit more like myself. Paul, it's still the second most visited house in the US. Yeah. I'm not sure why anybody would want to visit the White House at the moment. It's a bit of a freak show. Mr. Ben. Now I see the big main HMV shop in London is reopening. Cool, I wonder what they'll get. Or are all HMV shops the same as far as Elvis CDs? Because the one here in Cheltenham is fantastic. I actually complimented the manager on the selection. I couldn't believe it. And they're stocking MRS releases. In fact, I should probably go tomorrow to see if they've got anything new in. But I wonder, are they all like that? I did like the fact when I said, you know, you've got a really nice selection of Elvis CDs. And he said, well, the thing with Elvis is he always sells. Yeah, good to hear. Lila, do you think the Memphis Mafia did enough to help Elvis? No. The problem is, if we were in their shoes, would we have acted differently? We like to think we would, and with hindsight we would, but at the time, would we have? It's really tough. I can't believe that Red and Sonny West didn't have Elvis's best. I mean, they were with him from the very beginning. Charlie Hodge, I think, was a genuine friend. It's difficult when you're in that circle and living that lifestyle. I just can't believe that he didn't see what Elvis was doing to himself. But do you risk your position in the inner circle by confronting him about it? I don't know. Could they have done anything? I think the real weight of blame falls on the doctors. Because from everything you see, Elvis did have a respect for the doctors, and he believed that they knew what they were doing. So I think they were the ones that should have stepped in. Elvis always, probably, or we would not have behaved any different. That's the thing. Yeah, I agree. I think because we've got hindsight and we don't have anything at stake to say, I'd have stepped in. I think we'd have enjoyed. Yes, they would have cared about Elvis. I don't think you could get close to Elvis and not care about him. I think he was just that kind of guy. And they would have enjoyed the lifestyle and the benefits, and not wanted to see the dark side. They would want to believe that it's going to go on and on and on. But, you know, what happened near the end when he fired them and something was going on? Will we ever know the actual truth? It sort of painted quite a depressing picture of him at the end, but listening to a lot of people that knew him, I get the impression that actually he was getting fired up, that he wanted to prove them wrong, that he was going to show people. And when he did that at all stages of career, he came back fantastically well. And his decision that he was going to come to London and perform, and that he was telling people that he was going to get into shape, he was going to have new costumes done. I think he died at the most tragic moment, that he was on the cusp of saying, I'm coming back, that he was going to put the constant touring behind him and do something different. HMV in Grimsby has a good selection. Yeah, so right, it's all of them. Oh, VPI CDs. I've not seen that in Cheltenham. I shall have to ask the manager. Poor, I live on the Isle of Wight. Our HMV closed down. Oh, what a shame. Kerry, I agree about Charlie. Yeah. Charlie, when I met him in the shop, his book had just come out. So I've got one of the numbered first editions. And there'd been a queue. I'm not a queuer. I am patient. I can queue if I have to, but if I don't have to. So I just sort of hung around. And it got to the point where they said, okay, that's it. He's not signing anymore. So everybody dispersed and he packed out. And I walked up to him. And I said, excuse me, I've come all the way from England just to get your autograph. And he laughed and put his hand out. Signed it. I shook his hand and said, thank you. So... Oh, so it was a difficult time, I'm sure. Yeah, I can't remember where I heard it, but apparently he'd written a little speech because he was worried about the reception he would get at his first concert on the tour that was about to start, and so he'd written something to say if there was a reaction to the book Elvis What Happened. I can't. Does anybody remember where that came from? It was an interview somewhere. It just shocks me that he never understood just how much people cared about him. You know, they were never going to boo him. I read Elvis What Happened when it came out, and I just ended up thinking even more of him, because I thought, Jesus Christ, the life he's had to live, and look at how he handled it, his generosity, his sense of humour. All right, he had a temper now and then. Who doesn't? And I'm sure there are a lot of occasions where he could have, when you read about big stars who flip out and act the diva, and, you never saw that with him. Everybody that worked with him in the studio said, it was great to work with him in the studio. He didn't throw a wobbly. He didn't say, "Oh, you've made a mistake." He would laugh. He'd say, "I've made a mistake." Always on time, always professional. So I actually came out from reading Elvis What Happened admiring him even more. The only book I refused to read was Albert Goldman's piece of trash. Never. When it came out and I went to a bookshop and I saw it, I would hide it behind other books. Absolute garbage. Right, where are we? David Smith, DJ was a cracking chap, told me I always paid them cash at the end of every live show. And paid them extra, yeah. Ron Strauss, Elvis's pilot, I saw him interviewed recently, and he said that he would always come in and say hello, always go and thank them for the flight at the end, and would give them gifts, and sometimes it was money, sometimes it was a car, and they said he was just fantastic to be around and to work with. Paul, I honestly think they all tried, or would like to think so. How do you help a man who doesn't want to help himself? Yeah. I think he was in denial that he had a problem. He thought he had his life under control. But then you've got to think that towards the end, when he looked in the mirror, he must have seen that something wasn't right. But Kerry, Dave Hebler said, how do you protect a man from himself? Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, there is a story that Dr. Nicopolis would replace some of the pills with vitamin pills. I don't know, is that true, or is that just something he came up with? Paul, sadly, it's a lot of what ifs. That's it. Yeah. We lost so much with him dying so young. There was a conductor of an orchestra who said that he wanted to speak to Elvis about him singing, not opera, classical opera, but something, big and powerful with an orchestra, because he said that he was sure that he could do it. What was the rock band? One of the 70s rock bands who said they wanted to perform with Elvis as their lead singer. Name escapes me right now. And, it became the thing for people to do duet albums. You imagine all the big stars who would have just fallen over themselves to do a duet with Elvis. And, of course, the world tour we never got. Lila. That picture in Separate Ways when he hits the low note and smiles at JD. Yeah. You see him a lot of times where he hits a particular note, that smile comes on his face. Is it Hurt from Elvis in Concert, where he does that big belting note and that smile comes on his face? Kerry, I hear they are having a tribute to LMP during Elvis Week this year. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I do hope that they don't bury anybody else at the house. At least as the last person, really, that they should bury there. I didn't like the fact that they've put that big tomb thing. She should have been buried on, it should be like the other graves. It's too overpowering. Or is that not there permanently? I don't know. I've not seen anything recently. Mal, according to the book Destined to Die Young, his many hereditary health problems would have taken him. Yes, absolutely. That's a very impressive piece of work she did. As somebody who works with history and that, and has written history books, it's a very impressive book. Are her conclusions correct? I don't know. It's very persuasive. But you only have to look at the long line of early deaths down Gladys' side of the family. That obviously something wasn't right. Of course, the tragedy is that today, maybe with the advances in medical science, they could have done something about it. But back then, you have to remember the 70s, things were a lot cruder back then. But it's an impressive book. Paul, in a recent interview, Hebler stated that Red and Sonny had tentatively arranged a rehabilitation clinic, and when they approached Elvis, he had a meltdown. Yeah. That's probably, it's hard to say. But how did they approach him? I don't know. There were the times, of course, when he was checked into a hospital for several days. I don't know. Paul Parker was a problem. Why didn't he get shot years before? Elvis was too loyal to him. I think Elvis attributed much more to Parker for his success than he actually deserved. When Parker got hold of Elvis, he was the biggest rising star in the world, and he was the real thing. He had the talent, the looks, the style, the charisma. Everything about him was perfect. And so I could have managed him and he'd have been a big star. Any one of us could have managed him, he'd have been a big star. The record companies would be falling over themselves. The TV companies would be falling over themselves. The film companies would be falling over themselves. The promoters for concerts would be falling over themselves. Everybody would want a piece of him. He was going to be big no matter what. But Parker was small-minded. So Parker held him back. And he got credit he didn't deserve, as far as I'm concerned. Water. Wawa, if you remember. Time to drink Wawa and say, is that him? Squirty looking guy. Do you all remember that? David, I think he knew his fate and accepted it. It was a human being that hurt inside so badly. Yeah. As Bruce Springsteen says in his concerts, how did somebody who won so big in the end lose so bad? Lila, thoughts on picture discs in general, and what's your favourite one? Picture discs are a novelty. Sound quality wise, they're never as good. You do lose the sound. My favourite one. That's not something I've ever thought about. That's difficult because places like Denmark released a lot of picture discs. Favorite one? I've got to think now. What? You've stumped me there. I've never thought about that. I'm going to have to go through them and pick one. I'll let you know. Sean, I think when Elvis stopped having firework fights and riding motorbikes, he really didn't need the guys so much. Yeah, I mean, we all notice that as we get older. the people that we grew up with, we have less in common with them. And we have our own direction. And you sort of do drift apart. Having them constantly around him. Yeah, again, it's a life that I just can't imagine. I mean, he was in middle age. You can't act like a kid your whole life. I'll be 58 in October, and this recent incident with the blood pressure and that, it did sort of jolt me to think, okay, I can't live like I'm in my brain. I'm 22. I can't live that way anymore. Maybe he realized that he just couldn't do it anymore. Of course, instead of planning planning to come to London to perform, what he should have done was plan to take a year off and just tell everyone, I'm not going to do anything for a year. He never had a year off. You look at big stars today, they take 4 or 5 years to produce an album. He was knocking out 2 albums every year. And singles that weren't on the album. I mean, and the constant touring. And this idea that he had money troubles and couldn't stop touring. How the hell did that happen? All right, we know he's very, very generous, but even so, Parker must have ripped him off somewhat chronic. 50%. I mean, nobody gets 50%. Nobody's worth 50%. The artist is the creator. Without him, there's nothing. Paul Hebler stated that it was standards who would sneakily get the pills for Elvis. I've never been sure what to think of the standards. I'm surprised that Vernon took on a woman with 3 young kids. I'd have been very suspicious if I was him. Perhaps it's just my suspicious mind. David Smith, the Elvis medley. Oh, the picture disc. I wasn't keen on the Elvis medley. I know it was the in thing to do that kind of thing then. But the actual thing itself, wasn't that keen on it. But yeah, the picture. The Sound of Your Cry. I'm trying to think. The Sound of Your Cry picture disc. And then there's the one with Anne Margaret and Graceland at Christmas. I shall have to dig them out. What Elvis songs make you cringe? Well, there's the ones that we all, Old MacDonald, of course. Queenie Wahine. Now, who was it who said that they always judge whether somebody's really an Elvis fan by whether they can sing Queenie Wahine? Can I sing Queenie Wahine? Queenie Wahine's papaya rates higher than pineapple, pumpkin, or pie. Please pick your papaya with Queenie Wahine and perfect perpetual joy, though some people's palates prefer pickled salads, plum puddings, popcorn, peach pie. Please pick your papaya with Queenie Wahine when Queenie Wahine passes by. Not bad. Might not be absolutely word perfect, but but there are other songs. I'm trying. Petunia the Gardener's Daughter. David, the Lady Loves Me picture disc, yeah. Mal, the Elvis medley CD is real expensive. Only made in Mexico. Oh, right, I wasn't aware of that. I shall have to write that down. Strange how these things happen. It's like the 3-inch CD of A Little Less Conversation. only released in Venezuela. Paul, I can help the Anne Margaret picture disc. Yep. What about the sound of your cry? No, there was a 7-inch. Was there a 12-inch? I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it. What we got here? I have a box down here with all of my UK 7-inch singles in, and there used to be an order of release. Used to be is the important phrase. I'll see if I can spot it. Talk amongst yourselves. Will I be able to spot it? I really am going to have to sort these out again. It will make life a lot simpler. I'm trying to remember if the sound of your cry was 7-inch picture disc. Ah, got it. Okay. So, was this only released in the UK? The sound of your cry picture disc, or did they get it in America as well? And there's the Elvis medley. Oops. I think, have I got the other one here? Things get moved about and I can't remember where they are. Where do we get to? Carey, I'm sorry, but I don't care for US Mail. Oh, I quite like US Mail. It's probably not a song for today. A bit like there's a couple of other songs that I think, oh, they wouldn't go down well today. What Every Woman Lives For, and Woman Without Love. The lyrics are not for today. A man without love is only half of a man, but a woman is nothing at all. Paul, how many Elvis albums do you actually own? I don't know. I've never actually added them up. I made a mistake when I catalogued them. I should have done it in a spreadsheet. I did it as a text document. And I haven't been bothered to add it all up. There must be a way of doing it automatically. I'll have to look. I don't know if I can move the camera very far. Let's see if I can. Up there we got box sets, and then there. So that's My Boy. Lots of My Boys. That's the Japanese singles. 78s and 10-inch. I shall return. My virus program kicked in and started scanning and kicked me off for some reason. Don't pull the plug, I'm still alive. So that was weird. Why did my virus thing kick in then? Oh dear. This is my comeback. So, Speaker's Corner, hello. Alan West, hello. Kerry, here I am. I have risen. So what happened before then? Oh, Kiss Me Quick is one of the greatest. Imagine doing it at the Y Show. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of songs that he should have performed live. Such a Night. I would love to have heard that. He did perform Such a Night in the 70s in one concert. I've got a bootleg of it somewhere. Beatles fans sabotaging, boo. My dad always made me laugh about the Beatles. He did a stage show with them once. My dad did lighting for stage shows as well. And he did one for the Beatles. So I said to him, what did you think of them? And he said, it's a good job the girls were screaming so loud they couldn't hear how bad they were. That was quite early on in their careers, so maybe they got better. David, what was that? What was that Elvis drink? Taste of Steve, the one out of the can. Oh, that. From memory, it was fruity. I've never actually seen it again. I think I got the can somewhere. I can't actually remember much about that drink now. It was alcoholic, wasn't it? Not alcoholic. It was alcohol. I'm not a big drinker of alcohol. I like the occasional beer. But literally I'll have 1 pint and that's it. I can't physically drink anymore, which is a good thing. So I've only been drunk twice in my life. And I remember both times. Adolfo, good to see you again, Steve. Hello to Elvis Brazilian fans. It's great to see fans from around the world all coming together because of Elvis. I was saying earlier, I just picked up a CD from Argentina. So they sort of put together all the Elvis tracks that have got a sort of Latin American flavour to them. I like things like that. Lila, what made you do this channel? I came across Elvis in Japan, David, his channel, and I really liked what he was doing. And I thought, what a great way to sort of share your connection and your love of Elvis with people all around the world. And you can do it from your own room. It's a bit daunting when you first do it. You think, is anybody going to watch? So I made my first video and sort of put it out there, very tentative, thinking probably nobody's even going to find it. And was shocked when people started watching and commenting and subscribing, and now I enjoy doing them. I don't always find it hard to find the time at the beginning, so very long gaps between videos. I've tried to make a bit more time since. I used to have to set everything up before I did it, and that took time. So now I just leave everything set up. this is my study office, so my wife tends to stay out of it, except when she wants to surprise me, which she used to try to do when I was filming a video. So I'd be talking and suddenly the door would burst open and she'd burst in. Ta-da! She stopped doing that now. David, Asda sells it. Well, that explains it, because I don't go in Asda very often. We have got one, but the route is not one I take very often. Paul, hello Brazil, some great Elvis LPs. Yep, I've got quite a few Brazilian ones. I really like them. I like the fact that they put the titles and things in their own language. It always shocked me that France didn't, because the French are very protective of the French language. Paul, wasn't it called Elvis Juice? I think it was, yeah. I'll have to find the can. Paul, you have a great laid-back style. I always try to be very during my studies of Roman history, which I still keep up with, came across the works of the Stoic philosophers, and I like that outlook on life. You should treat great highs with the same manner that you treat great lows. You just try to stay a sort of medium. I always say when something bad is happening in life, or something daunting is approaching, I always think to myself, a couple of months from now, this is going to be in the past, all behind me, and I'll have moved on. And it's correct, you know. So seems to work for me. Lila, I'm always excited when I see a new video of yours. Tell my wife. The Aloha from Hawaii one is my favourite, really informative. Thank you. I do try to sort of bring in some information that isn't immediately obvious or widely known. I try to look for a sort of different angle. It's not easy, but a little thing has just come up on the computer to tell me that it's humid. I know it's humid. You don't need to tell me. Where are you, Lila? I assume you're in America. Elvis makes a fuss of Gatorade in some of his concerts, yeah. It's like that Wawa quote earlier. Take time out to drink Wawa. Mal, do you work from home? Yeah, partly from home. And I do a lot of work for a militaria shop, which is where I have my posts sent. The chap there gets medals and things in with people's names on, so I go in and I research. When people buy this stuff, they want to buy a story, and I'm very good, though I say so myself. I'm very good at tracking these things down. I actually won a gold medal at the Orders and Medals Research Society convention a few years back for my work. And this is my second book, the finished one. Kerry didn't seem to, yeah. I remember saying with Gatorade, it looks like somebody's already drunk it. Sean, does your work business clean the medals and sell them? They do a medal mounting business, yeah. Re-ribboning and mounting. We've had a lot of work lately because of the Platinum Jubilee medal, which of course came out, and then the Queen sadly died. Won't be as much work with the Charles III Coronation Medal because they're restricting its awarding this time. Apparently only those who take part in the Coronation Day are going to be awarded it, so it's going to be a much rarer medal. Paul, have you dug out the small books yet? No, I haven't. My attic is just jammed with stuff. And the light's given out up there, so I have to sort that out. But I must get up there. I'm still finding albums. There were things I'm sure I'd bought and I can't find them, and they're still cropping up. There's all sorts of stuff up there. There's huge boxes of books. I love books. They're everywhere. You can't see it because it's very untidy. I'm not going to show you, but I just have books piled on books behind books. I just love them. I have a lot of interest. I always had an interest in Tsarist Russia, Finnish military history, ancient history of all types, coins and banknotes, medals, military history, horror films, the films of Greta Garbo, classical music. I've got a collection of classical music. I think if something's good, it's good. It doesn't matter what genre it is. If somebody's world class at what they do, then listen to it, read it, watch it. I love watching I'll watch silent movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Classic music, see fantastic movies. So I have a lot of interest. Where do we get to? David, will you be getting the new Madison FTD? I feel like I should, but it's not a priority. I still haven't got the lower FTD. I feel I should, but it's like that. If that comes out, what do I want to buy? I'd rather have that. Though I should have the others, and I probably will get them eventually. But it's not high on my list. I've got Prince from Another Planet. I've got a lot of copies of Madison Square Garden album. Paul, have you ever contemplated getting the same medals that Elvis was awarded, or is it just UK medals? When was it? 1980s. I went into we had a shop here in Cheltenham called MASH, Military Surplus, and I went in and they had American Army jackets, so I bought one, and then I tracked down the right patches and the medals, and so I actually had a reproduction of Elvis's army jacket. And it's another one of the things that disappeared when I moved to Finland. And I asked and everybody denied any knowledge of it. So I don't know where it went. I can only assume my brother is my brother. And he's the type of brother that would take it and sell it to somebody and deny all knowledge, sadly. I do wonder if that's what happened to my cassettes as well. But I had a big collection of British medals to the Gloucestershire Regiment, going right from the Napoleonic Wars, Waterloo, right up to Northern Ireland. I also have a nice collection of Finnish medals. American medals don't interest me. They seem to give them too easily, too many. There was a famous picture in a magazine. It was taken in the 70s at the Berlin Wall. 3 soldiers. You had an American, a Russian, and a British soldier stood there. There was some kind of ceremony. And the American chap had ribbons all down his chest. The Russian chap had ribbons all down his chest. And the British chap had 2 ribbons. And the caption said, which one of these 3 men has actually seen active service? And it was the British guy. We had this, Churchill said that there should be no medals without bloodshed. So a medal has to mean something. Whereas apparently the Americans got a medal for crossing the Atlantic. Strange. So American medals don't interest me. And of course they didn't name their medals, so they're pretty anonymous. You do get some that are named. I think they probably got it done themselves. So Sean, hopefully that answered that as well. I did have a collection of Imperial Russian medals, but they're so damned expensive. And of course the Russians got interested in them themselves after communism ended, so I ended up selling them I do still have some Soviet medals. Lila, ever thought of doing reviews on new releases? I'm not really a reviewing kind of person. It just doesn't review. Maybe I'll try filming one and see how it comes out and decide whether to show it. We'll see. Harold, hello. Late to the party. David, the Yanks get a medal for twisting their ankles. Yeah. Yeah. I did laugh. I was watching a thing where two Americans were reacting to what's his name? Clarkson. He did a thing on the VC, a program on the VC. So they were reacting to it. And at the beginning, he's saying, the Victoria Cross, blah, blah, blah. And the one says to the other, how does it equate to ours? And he says, I think it's a Purple Heart. Oh. One of the most interesting medal sets I ever saw was in Helsinki. I went to the military museum, which I think is now shut, sadly. And they had a case with the medals of a chap called Lauri Turney. And I'd read the book, and it's called Soldier Under Three Flags. Lauri Turney makes Rambo look like a wimp. If they filmed his life story, you'd think, oh, this has been made up. He was a Finnish soldier. He won every gallantry medal that Finland could award. When the Winter War ended, he wanted to carry on fighting the Russians, so he went and joined the Waffen-SS. Then he went back to Finland, formed his own special unit to operate behind enemy lines. The Soviets put a price on his head. End of the war, they wanted him arrested, so he escaped to America and joined the American Army and became a Green Beret and commanded special forces in Vietnam and was killed on an operation in, was it Cambodia or Laos, where they weren't supposed to be. His remains were only found in 1999, and he's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. A Waffen-SS veteran is buried at Arlington National Cemetery as an American hero. He changed his name to Larry Thorne. His real name's Lauri Turney. They had his medals on display. Just an astonishing group of medals. Lila, how weird you mentioned Mr. Ben. Picture disc of Mr. Ben. What is the picture disc of Mr. Ben? Not the Mr. Ben. Harold, I got some more Elvis CD singles. Which ones? UK ones or American ones? I've been looking at the French ones lately. The French have done some nice CD singles. I've got the one always on my mind, which has got a really nice cover on it. I might get some more. So Lila, did you say where you were? I must have missed it. Kerry, time to cook dinner. Well, thanks for coming. Have a good night. See you next time. Joe, 22-year-old Elvis fan. Fantastic. Big record collector. You have no Elvis records. I dread where to start. Yeah, it's difficult because we all want the original releases. But the German Black Label releases are the sound quality. I haven't played them, but everybody says the sound quality. I've got them. I haven't played them. The sound quality is fantastic. What I would do is look for those or look for the international label and I would get the albums with the original cover artwork so that you can build up the albums as they were released. Then when you got some spare money, get the originals. That's how I would do it. Mr. Ben the Music was released. I didn't see that. I should have to have a look for that. Harold, I got the 56 Elvis EP Shake, Rattle and Roll on CD. '56 EP. I don't know if I've got it. Albums, I'm pretty good, but singles and EPs, they go out my head. Sean, Ninochka. Yeah, great. I love that film. I want to see all her films, but some of them are very hard to track down. I just think she was an astonishing actress and personality. I just remember David Niven, his 2 books, The Moon's a Balloon and Bring on the Empty Horses, are fantastic. I had them on cassette of him reading them, which sadly that got lost. I must try and find them again. And I remember him telling a story that she was staying in a house next to his at some point. She didn't have a swimming pool, he did, so she said, "Can I use your swimming pool in the evenings when nobody's around?" So he said, "Yeah, carry on." And one evening his young son came in and said, "There's a nude lady in the swimming pool." So he went out and it was Greta Garbo. And he said, "My son's first vision of a nude woman was Greta Garbo." And I think, oh my God, she was the most stunningly beautiful woman. And the accent, bleh. Anyway. Paul, the guy who created Mr. Ben, died a couple of months ago. I didn't hear that. Lila, in the world. For some reason, I thought you were in America. Lila's quite an unusual name. For me, anyway. All right. Another Brit. Mal, who's Mr. Ben? My heart. Britain's superhero, Mr. Ben. America had Batman and Superman. We had Mr. Ben. Do you really not know who Mr. Ben is? I can't believe it. David, I think the best thing to do from scratch is to buy the 60 CD. I did say vinyl, I think, records. If you can afford the 60 CD set, then yes, an instant, almost complete collection. John, hello. Australia. British comedy or drama? Do you collect DVDs? I don't collect DVDs because everything's too available now online. Though I've been thinking maybe I should, because this retrospectively altering things to make them suit modern tastes is something I'm absolutely against. But Yes Minister, I just loved Yes Minister. I think it's probably the greatest, for me, comedy show ever. And Fawlty Towers, of course, Monty Python, big fan of those. So Joe, even Joe remembers Mr. Ben. Sure, Steve, I would ask the shopkeeper if he had any Elvis jumpsuits. Yeah, they should have done an episode. Yeah. What was it? Albemarle Road, was it? The kids were always playing and he would stop and put his hand in his pocket to pull out his key and pull out his souvenir. I often wonder, I assume he was some kind of either bank worker or civil servant. He never turned up for work. How did they not fire him? Speaker's Corner, curious with those watching, do you regard your country's Elvis records higher or lower than US as Elvis domestic pressings? For me, because they're the records I grew up with, you're just used to them, aren't you? So I find pressings from other countries to be exotic, whereas to those people, They're the norm, and ours are exotic. So, but I like foreign pressings that have a totally different cover, different layout, something very different about them. Lila, yes. Yeah, that was a good idea that Sean had. Maybe we should write an episode. Festive Road. Where did I get Albemarle Road from? God, brain playing tricks on me. I was used to think when the shopkeeper said, "Walk this way, Mr. Ben," he should have said, if I could walk that way, I'd need an operation. Paul, leave that for Quantum Leap. I used to watch the old version of it. I didn't like the new version of it. I stopped watching Agent Elvis after about the third one. I watched them all just to say I've watched it. We don't need a second series of that, I don't think. It had its good points and its bad points. The bad points was a bit like Elvis's Black. I did not like at one episode there's a young black girl who starts the "you stole armies," and I thought, why the hell would they raise that? Leave that alone. We've dealt with it. Move on. Didn't like that at all. It's like poking the bear. There's still 20 people. I'm surprised they don't give you a list of who's actually here. I can only see the people that are chatting. Paul loved Agent Elvis. I thought it was funny. Yeah. I think Elvis would have loved it. I thought he'd have got a kick out of it. Elvis the superhero. And Scatter was funny. They could have toned down the swearing, I think. That was a bit over the top. And there were elements here and there that I thought, I wish they hadn't put that in. But overall, it was fun. I laughed at it. Elvis Presley Collectors Group. Hello. There seems to be a growing number of Elvis channels, which is good. We should all support each other. Lila, did you go to any of the Elvis concerts where it was just the band and he was on screen? No, I didn't. No. It was funny when they were happening. I didn't. No, I just didn't have the urge to do it. Joe, as a 22-year-old, Agent Elvis was great in introducing many friends who don't care for Elvis into the world of Elvis. Well, that's good. It's a bit like the movie. That exposed a lot of people that didn't listen to Elvis, to him. So for all its faults, I think it has done good. David Roustabout, Wheels on the Hills. I got wheels on the hills. Not wings. Paul, are you getting the Making of Blue Hawaii? I've got it ordered. To my 32, you're a bit behind the times. 33 and 34 have arrived. 35 is on the horizon because I've seen a new one. The label is something like Glamorous, and there's a bonus EP with it, so I'll have to get that. I have got the Making of ordered. Of course, we were supposed to have it by now, so I don't know what's happened. 25 copies. Come on, you got to catch up. Have you got the which one is it? There's some Japanese ones I haven't got. I've got a few. What must that album have sold around the world over the years? Because I am absolutely positive that Elvis's record sales are underreported. As vast as they are, they're underreported. Paul, my 25-year-old son, also left the agent. Strictly Elvis Club are currently out in Hawaii, visiting the Honolulu Center and dressing rooms before it all gets refurbished. All right. I always fancied Hawaii. I just never got to do it. I can't see me doing it now. As I said before, unless when we're both retired, we'll see. Mark from Manchester. Hi Steve, do you have the Castle Music Blue Hawaii? I do, yeah. I got all the castles except Tickle Me. I didn't buy Tickle Me at the time because you didn't get the bonus disc with it, and I thought, well, I won't bother. And now, of course, it's the most expensive one of the lot. I see it advertised a lot, but I just don't want to pay what they're asking. Can I see it here? All my Blue Hawaiis are here. Or did I put it with the other castles? No, it must be here somewhere. I don't know if you can see, but Blue Hawaii starts there and ends there. So there's 34. It's there somewhere. Elvis in Blue Hawaii Collector's Edition, is that it? Ah, yeah. There you go. And that one came with Stay Away Joe as a bonus. These were nicely done sets. The two recent ones that I've bought are that new one. I do like the cover. And I finally got around to picking up one of those because somebody was selling them quite cheaply. I did put a comment up on my community page. If anybody wants one, they had them for 65 quid and they still had a few left. Oh, I just love stuff like that. I mean, that's the front cover. So that's Spanish. If you saw it, you'd think that's the back. And of course, an Italian re-release. That was a Japanese re-release. I did do two very long videos, one showing my American and British releases and the other the worldwide ones. My dad never could understand why you would want to buy the same record twice, let alone 34 times. His head would explode. Elvis Presley Collective Group, looking forward to the new FTDs. What are your thoughts on MSG? Excited about another version? Now, we talked about this earlier. I can't get excited about it. I've got a lot of copies of Madison Square Garden on vinyl. I've got Prince from Another Planet. I've got the standard CD version. The only new thing you're going to get is the press conference. And with them being, they're not cheap. I would rather buy that and the Mexican CDs, spend the money on them. But of course I feel like I should buy it, so I probably will eventually. Man, have you got the Mo-Fi version of Blue Hawaii, the one I just showed? Sean, I've got a sealed Tickle Me. I paid £80, Sean. That does, I've seen it for around that. I just can't bring myself to pay that. Mark, how is your collection of Rockwell LPs going? I haven't actually bought any since for quite a long time back. When I see them on eBay, I can't remember if I've got it or not. So I haven't added to them yet. So many things to buy though, that's the problem. Trying to keep up with all the latest FTD, MRS, VPI, Mo-Fi. It's really difficult. Paul, how deep are our pockets? Yep, that's the problem. See, the other problem I've got is I don't just collect Elvis. I have, how can you put it, not really collections, like Led Zeppelin. I love Led Zeppelin, so I've got all their stuff, but I don't collect it. The two artists that I have collected are Bob Dylan and Tori Amos. Bob Dylan, the bootleg series, just mind-blowing, but they're not cheap. Paul, same as my girlfriend. Now then, what does that relate to? Not sure. I wish Elvis had been like Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan had so much unreleased music that he'd recorded over the years. The bootleg series, each time it's multiple discs of unreleased songs, unreleased versions of songs. He would write a song and record it in several different styles and then choose not always what seems to be the best version. He would leave fantastic songs off his albums. If Elvis had been like that, if only he'd had his home studio that he could just go into, pick a guitar up, sit at the piano, record something. Joe, I wouldn't like to be a Bob Dylan or Neil Young collector. Oh, right, Paul, now I get it. Yep. Yeah. It's crazy when you think about it, isn't it? That we keep buying the same albums over and over again with the same music on. Joe, Bob Dylan's ability to record different renditions of songs in a mat. Yep. There is, the first time I heard I've got a bootleg album up there of the sessions for recording the song Loving You. And the first time I heard that, I was blown away. When you hear take one, it is totally different. And take two's different. And, he was experimenting. It'd have been nice if he'd have done more of that. I also have a lot of Bruce Springsteen, but I stopped buying them pretty much after he got married. I know it was time for him to grow up, but it's like she cut his balls off. His music changed. Before that, I love it. Speakers kind of, Dylan performs different. He does. He's always messing about with the tempo, the music, the lyrics. Drives you potty sometimes. I've only seen Dylan once. He performed at where was it? Birmingham NEC, I think. Yeah, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, a lot of people can't get past the voice. What's so frustrating is that he puts the voice on. That's not his natural singing voice. If you listen to him sing something like Moonshiner, some of the stuff from some of the later albums, he can sing, but it's like he's playing his voice like an instrument at times. David, look how Treat Me Nice progressed throughout the takes. Yep. Yeah, there are some Elvis songs where he does experiment. But I don't think there's anybody like Dylan for that. Mark, do you think Elvis in concert will ever be released officially? I hope so. I was saying earlier, I think it's time. It needs to be recut, restored. There is some very nice footage that somebody's done. His voice is very powerful, and even if he does, it's strange, isn't it? The one show he looks really not good at all, and yet sings powerfully. And then I forget which show's which at the moment. The other show, he seems more up and happier. So I think, yes, it's time. Even if they do it not as a general public release, more like an FTD, so the fans can have it, I think it's time to do it. Joe, saw him in Hyde Park. It was great. Then saw in October 22 new album, which I almost fell asleep. He's an old man. It's horrible to think that he's probably not got long left. He actually nearly died, not just a few years back, didn't he? He wasn't well. But that will be a real loss when he goes, because his songwriting is just... He is the greatest songwriter ever, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody can touch him. The making of Jailhouse Rock sessions are interesting too. I do like the sessions. People can't understand how you can sit and listen to the same song over and over again. But there are, even when it's not big differences, there are subtle differences. The way Elvis phrases a song. Elvis's diction is so clear. The way he pronounces words, it's so clear. And he pronounces all the letters. He finishes words off precisely. And it must have come naturally to him, because he always does it. Paul, what's your favourite era of Elvis music? This is a question that keeps coming up, and I find it very hard to answer, because you feel like if you choose one, you're sort of putting down the others. And I'm not, but I do like the 70s. I love the 50s and 60s, but maybe because he was alive and doing it when I became a fan in the 70s. I still remember the thrill of getting Promised Land on the day it was released. I pestered my mum. I've been saving my pocket money. She was going into town. Please, please, please. And I still remember her walking through the door with a plain brown paper bag and handing it to me. And I pulled that album out, this glossy black cover. And I was like, oh my God. And putting it on, I loved it. I just love that album. Yeah. Paul Saul Springsteen, incredible. Yeah. Oh, Bruce Springsteen. I've got lots of bootlegs of shows from the 70s and 80s. 3-4 hour. It's like a history of rock and roll. He performs not just his songs, he does everything. A lot of Elvis songs. He always talks about Elvis on stage. I even liked this first band, Steel Mill, that became a bit of a hit. Really sort of hard, heavy blues rock. And he had long hair, and he would play frantic guitar solos. And Sean, I used to buy a lot of copies of Elvis Golden Records with the booklet, and Elvis is back with the gatefold. Something about those tones made me want to buy them. It's strange how a particular album sort of captures your imagination. Yeah. I've got quite a few copies of all the Golden Records. Paul, there's a new Rockwell Blue vinyl album coming out called Rock It Up. Yeah, I've seen it. I pre-order. Yeah, the cover looked pretty good from what I can remember. What was it? Juno Records. I came across their site. They have quite a lot of stuff for pre-order. It looked quite interesting, and I might buy something from them and see how it goes. David, how about the time you got the Reader's Digest set? Yes, my parents bought me that for Christmas. After a lot of very unsubtle hints, I saw the advert in the newspaper. In fact, I did a video about it showing the advert. And I was just like, oh my God, all those tracks and all these song titles I'd never heard of. And so they got it, and I remember that Christmas opening it. I was just blown away. That was it, that day. I was just sat there with headphones on, just listening to the whole thing through and then starting again and hearing songs for the first time. Tell Me Why. For the first time. It's like, and all these songs I'd never heard of. Yeah, that's a big set. That's an Elvis 40 Greatest. Another big set at the time. Did you only get Elvis ST? Did you get the only ST? Not sure what that is. Tony, hello. Been into Elvis since I was too young to even know how old I was. My mum used to tell a story. She said when I was old enough to sit upright, they had a portable record player, and she said they would put it in front of me and load some singles on. So then you could have the singles in a stack, and one would drop down and it would play. And she said, and they would give me a Farley's Rusk, sit me in front of this record player, and it would go. And they said they thought that I was reacting more to the fact that the record was going round, and then the next one would drop down and the arm would move. But they said they noticed that I reacted differently to one single, and that was King Creole, Dixieland Rock. And they said when that came on, I would frantically. And so my mum says I was an Elvis fan from sort of 2-3 years old. Of course, I don't remember any of that. But I've still got that single. Mark, I remember getting the Promised Land single on the day of release. For a strange reason, it was a US Grey label. Yeah, there were. I wonder if it's the same reason that My Boy and Raised on Rock and the elusive Take Good Care of a single. There was a vinyl shortage. Because back then we had the oil problems, and the UK had a vinyl shortage. And so the record pressing companies were rationing the number of records they would do for a company, for a particular artist. And so RCA imported the American versions of some of these. And then later on, they used some of their allotment to press a limited number of UK versions. So those are hard to find. I've got the UK Raised on Rock. Not easy to find and costs a lot of money. Of course, the big one is the single Take Good Care of Her. they imported the American one, which was in a picture sleeve. So of course back then, if you'd have gone to buy a record, UK singles didn't have picture sleeves. So if you saw the UK one and the American one, you'd buy the American one because you've got a fantastic picture sleeve. The UK one is the rarest UK single. I don't know what it would cost to buy. I've never seen it. I don't know anybody that's got it. I've only seen pictures of it. But they did press them. They're out there somewhere. And it's the sort of thing that you can possibly find at a car boot sale or a junk shop, because nobody's going to know that that single's rare. So I always go in and check that one day it's going to be there for 20 pence. Oops. Only the Strong Survive album. I didn't think it was bad. Only the Strong Survive album. Right now my brain's not clicking in. Only the Strong. Just one of the Rockwells. Paul Springsteen tells a great story when he jumped the wall. Yeah, he jumped the wall at Graceland and ran up to the house to meet his idol. I like that he says that when he was running towards a house, he was rattling through his brain, what's he going to say to the man that, inspired everything and started everything for him. Of course, he wasn't there. And he wrote Fire for Elvis, which came out as a live single, which you might have heard. But there's the original demo that he recorded, and it's a rockabilly song in the original demo. Harold, do you have different versions of Elvis for everyone? I do. Because, of course, we're lucky in the UK. We had 2 picture sleeves that were unique to the UK. Whether I can actually see them... let's have a look. Elvis for everyone. It should be up here somewhere. There you go. Elvis for everyone. Let's see if I can... I was saying before, it's becoming a problem now that my albums are so tightly packed in. Okay. So there's the Elvis for everyone that everyone knows. This is the Green International. So as I was saying before, if somebody's starting to collect, these are good ones to collect. They're easy to get hold of, and they have the original artwork. So nice place to start. Of course, in the UK, we had that picture sleeve. That's an Australian. They did a whole series where they had a white border at the top. So I've got a few of those. That's another international. So why have I got that one then? Maybe this is a case where I've bought the same album twice. Quite possibly. Okay. That's another Australian. That must have been the original Australian version without the white border at the top. Now this, I said before about the black label. So these are black label ones. So they're sort of most recent. That's a Japanese text at the top. That's an American. Okay, and here's the original UK cover, which I prefer to the American one, Red Spot. And that, of course, is available in stereo and mono. This is the mono. I haven't got the stereo one yet. And that's the original Potluck UK, which tagged itself on the end. David, I was in demand on cassette the day he died. Yeah. I Was in Demand was a good album. Tony, my best sounding Elvis records are some 10-inch 45s I bought in a record shop in London. Set of Elvis 18 number ones. Yeah, got the box of those. Never played them. Paul, In Demand, great album. Yeah, there were some tracks on there that, from memory, you couldn't get on an album at the time. Isn't that the one where the UK fans voted for what should be on it, I think? Paul, it's amazing how we find our musical tastes at such a young age. Yeah, his hand in mine at 12, 13, yeah. Tony, Bruce wrote Fire for Hours. Yeah, that's what he said. And if you hear the original demo, it's a rockabilly song, not like the later version that he released. Mark, I have everything that Rockwell have released up to now, believe me. They've done quite a few, haven't they? Tony, he gave it to Robert Gordon, who sung it rockabilly, right? So that's the original. He's done the original version. I wonder if Elvis would have sung it, if he would have recorded it. Fire. Of course, there was Fire Down Below, wasn't there, that Jerry Sheff wrote, and they recorded the backing track, and then apparently Elvis never recorded the vocal for it. Elvis Collectors Group, sorry, I was meaning the recent Bruce Springsteen. Ah, right, Only the Strong Survive album. Wasn't bad. Yeah. I didn't buy it. I haven't bought a Bruce Springsteen album since... What was the last one? When he released 2 albums at the same time, Human Touch and... God, it's been so long since I've played them. Whatever it was. For me, when he got married, something in his music changed. I just never got back into it. But all the stuff before that, I just love. I think it was fantastic. Of course, I did a video about the links with Elvis and Bruce Springsteen. Shakin' Stevens released Fire as a single in 1979. Shaky. Paul, The Rising is a cracking album. Yeah, I've never listened to it. Again, he's an artist that recorded a lot of tracks that he never released. I have bought the recent sets of songs, like from the Darkness sessions and things like that, and the River sessions. Fantastic songs. Tony, I think he would have, but then you have the Colonel probably wanting his publishing rights. Yeah, I'm surprised Elvis didn't put his foot down over that. He should have said to him, look, the business side is one thing, but the music is mine, you leave it alone. He should definitely have stood his ground there, because he did harm Elvis's career. Mal, good night, thanks for dropping by. 10:35. Luckily tomorrow I've got nothing on. And of course Monday's a bank holiday. And this time next week, our king will have been crowned. I shall be glued to that. I am a constitutional monarchist. I believe that constitutional monarchy, for me, is the best system. So that will be a big day. I shall have my flags out, looking out for all the new ciphers on the standards and badges, and I love it. Paul, good night to you. Thanks for coming by. See, all the UK people are dropping out. We didn't build an empire by dropping out. Thanks, Paul. See you next time. Connect with group. Talking Fire down below. Shaky also covered that. Ah, did he? Oh, I'd be interested to hear that. I shall search that out. I didn't know that. Just want to hear what the song's like. It's a shame that Elvis didn't record a vocal for it. It's like those 3 tracks from the 69 Memphis session where they laid down the music and Elvis didn't record it. Poor Man's Gold. Remind me, what were the other 2? Because they're not coming to my brain. Poor Man's Gold. It's one of those things where the more you try and think of something, the further away it gets. Yet it's there. If somebody can put me out of my misery. No, it's not going to come. He does rock it. Yeah, I shall have a listen. I'll be interested to see what it actually sounds like. I've heard the backing track, but not it as a complete song. God, if I can't remember those songs, I'm going to have to look them up. Poor Man's Gold. No, just won't come. Right. Poor Man's Gold. I've spotted that one straight away. Where's the other 2? Come on. Can't see them. Oh. What's that? Oh, this is the problem with this. You end up pushing one back and then it disappears. That can go in there. No, there again. Poor Man's Gold. The Wonders You Perform. Where does that come from in my head? No idea. The Wonders You Perform, yeah. And Good, Bad, but Beautiful. Excellent. Harold, did you ever see the Queen? From a very long distance, I did. Yeah. I think she was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Shame she never got to meet Elvis. Because he was invited to do a command performance in the 60s. David, did you know Elvis was marked to play the leading role in Midnight Cowboy? He declined it and given to John Voight. I don't remember ever hearing that. I'm glad he did decline it, though. Not really a film I would have wanted him to have done. I would like to have seen him do A Star Is Born, but I can understand why he didn't. The story, you know, a superstar in decline. But he probably would have been absolutely fantastic. Could have even won an Oscar, who knows. Sean, are Charles medals honorary or for time served in the forces? He did serve as a Royal Navy captain, but not on active service. So he's got orders and things that you get because you're a royal. He's got coronation and jubilee medals. He'll have the Royal Navy Long Service Medal. He didn't actually do active service, but he was a serving Royal Naval officer for a time. But historically, the Royals served and did serve in combat. But the days of the king leading the charge are long gone. Mal, you see, Mal, you can't leave. I've driven the Queen a couple of times on duty on trips to Liverpool. On duty as what? Did you get to speak to her? Because everything you see and hear about her, she had a fantastic sense of humour. My two all-time favourite stories about the Queen. One, she was on a parade with the Household Cavalry. She was on a horse, and the commanding officer of the Household Cavalry was on a horse next to her. And his horse just lets this loud fart. And he says to the Queen, "Oh, Your Majesty, I do apologise." And she said, "Oh, that's all right, Colonel. I thought it was the horse." Fantastic. And the other one is when she was on her estate up in Scotland, and a dry wall had been mended. So she said to her bodyguard, "I want to go and look." So she drove the Land Rover. They went out. And the other side of the wall is a public footpath through the hills. And these two American tourists walk up and they say hello. And they're chatting. They don't recognise her. And they said, "The Queen lives around here. Have you ever met her?" And she said, "I haven't." And then she points to her bodyguard and says, "But he has." So they ignore her. They go to him. They hand her their camera and say, "Can you take a picture of us?" And he says, "Oh, have your picture taken with her as well." And they said afterwards, she roared with laughter. She said, "I hope when they get back, somebody looks at it and goes, but that's the Queen." I love that story. Our old Elvis was supposed to be in West Side Story. Right? Wasn't there something about, at some point, Grease? Back when it was first thought of. I know it came out after he died, but back when it was... But he was too... I don't know. He couldn't have done it. Mal, retired police traffic officer. Wow. 30 years, so he got the Police Long Service Medal. They've now brought out a bar to the Long Service Medal. Maybe you can retrospectively get it. Because there never used to be a bar to it, did there? But now there is. Quite a few members of my family were police. One's still serving. Though at the moment, it's a bit of an embarrassment because they will say they've never been more ashamed of the British police, the way they've been behaving lately. But Mal, you were probably a proper policeman back when the police were police, not like today. I bet being a policeman in Liverpool was... you've probably got some really good stories. About films Elvis was supposed to be in. I read that John Wayne wanted Elvis for a Western, and it never happened. Of course, he was supposed to be in The Rainmaker, wasn't he, the first film? Again, so many lost opportunities. Alan West come out. So I'm not sure what that refers to. My uncle was a Royal Protection officer here in Gloucestershire. And William and Harry used to pinch his sandwiches. Stop Paul McCartney for speeding. Didn't you stop him for that frog song? I didn't like that frog song. Can't remember what it was called now. Actually, I have a group of medals to a one-legged policeman. It's the only group I kept out of my Gloucestershire Regiment collection. He was shot in both legs and captured on the 26th of August 1914 in the very first action that the Gloucesters fought. And then he was exchanged in February 1915 in the very first exchange of prisoners through the Red Cross. His leg was amputated. After he recovered, he went back home to Ampney Crucis here in Gloucestershire and became a one-legged policeman. We all stand together, that's it. I don't stand together. That song drove me nuts. Oh, 17 people are starting to drift away. Ah, damn, now you've got it in my head. Get out. So how long have we been going? 3 hours and 16 minutes. We're getting towards the end. 10 to 11. So has anybody else got anything they want to bring up? Speaker's Corner off to dinner. Thanks for dropping by. I'm never sure when I'm going to do these, so it's hard for me to sort of schedule them. It's when I've got some time and I can sit down. Danny, 6 p.m. Mal, cup of tea. Should I have a cup of tea before I go to bed? I should probably go and check on the cat. Probably sat by the front door complaining. It's funny, when I open the door, and we haven't sort of opened the door for a while, she comes in going, "Wah!" Like, you left me outside. The Elvis Presley Collectors Group, where are you based? Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. Gloucester. It's about, what, 20 minutes to Gloucester itself, the city, which of course was a Roman colony founded by the Emperor Nerva. Its original name was Colonia Glevum Nevensis, and Glevum over the years became, the V became a U. And Cester, of course, is fort, Roman fort, so Glevum Fort became Gloucester. Good night, Mal. Sure, I went to see an evening with Priscilla in Birmingham. And she was entertaining. Somebody said that she charged quite a bit if he wanted to have a photograph taken with her. I'm not sure what I think about Priscilla. I think she has done a lot of good in sort of preserving his memory. But she has also milked her surname. I suppose you can't blame her. Oh, yeah. So, it'll be 11 o'clock in 8 minutes, so that's when I think we'll call it a night. I think I shall get up tomorrow, go into town and visit HMV again, see what they've got, and check out the DVDs. Paul, yes. Yeah, Marmite. Probably some people won't understand that phrase. I hate Marmite. My wife, she gets a knife, scoops it up and eats it. Yuck. Sean, it was only £56 a ticket and about 150 for a meat. Yeah. How long did she do then? How long did she actually talk for? Does her face look more natural in real life? Because when you see her on television and that, it's yeah, you can see that the work's been done. David, quick laugh at my expense. I bought JLS Rock 78 from a second-hand record store for £8. Got it home and sat on it. My thing is sitting on my glasses. For some reason, if I get up to go and do something, I have this habit of putting my glasses on the chair, and you can guarantee when I come back I'll forget. Oh, sure, 1.5 hours. That's not bad then. Harold, there's a 3 CD set of 1971 concerts out. There's a constant stream lately of concert CD sets. There's so many of them. They look good, but I can't afford to buy them and FTDs and everything else. I did come across a channel, is it Adrian Cross? Where he's showing all these live CD sets. They look fantastic. But I can't start buying those as well. They're not cheap. You do wonder what the sound quality is like as well. David, MRS, good. Yeah, MRS, I've been impressed with everything they've done, and for the price they do it as well. The one I still haven't got that I would like to get is their Pearl Harbor, just to see what the sound quality is like. They did have an MRS at HMV that I didn't have, but when I looked at it, I couldn't remember if I had it or not. When I came home, I didn't, so I'll go back and hopefully it's still there. So I'll get that tomorrow. And that's up there. So last time I picked up opening night 1972. And I still haven't got Black Tornado. I was hoping that they would have it in. In fact, I might ask them if they can get it. Ah, Alan, right. Backing track, but no vocals. Harold, I ordered the MRS CD single of My Baby Left Me. Ah, yeah. Yeah. That was, I think that was supposed to be a limited edition, but like all these limited editions, it's here somewhere. Can never see these things when I'm looking. So that's all where is it? It's about somewhere. Is that it? Ah, that one. I like that one. They do a good job on these things because they've reproduced the HMV cover and label on the CD single, so that's nice. Yeah, limited edition with a number, but when you're getting into four figures, can you really say it's a limited edition? But it is nice, and you can get it at a reasonable price. Dave, it's better quality than the silver box, right? So I must definitely get it then. Whenever I listen to that Pearl Harbor show, it just makes me despair that he didn't perform again for so long. All the great songs he could have done, the concerts. Anyway. Yep, too much coming out. Paul would love a soundboard of the last concert. Yeah, I wonder if one exists. I've got the album and CD of it. The sound isn't bad, but of course it's not soundboard. Sure, she said the woman standing by her when she was waving to us at the airport in Germany was just a fan who barged in. Yeah. Yeah, I would have thought that she was a friend who went along with her. David, good night. Thanks for coming by. Sturmgewehr, late to the party. Yep, we're actually winding up now. It's been nearly 3.5 hours. The heart of Dixieland. Now, why did you choose Sturmgewehr as your name? Paul, hello from New Zealand. Everybody's coming in now that we're winding up. I have a friend in the medal collecting sphere who lives here in Cheltenham, and his collecting theme is the New Zealand Fire Brigade medal, long service medal, which is a very strange thing for him to collect. He has a big collection, And when he retired, he went to New Zealand for a month. He hired a car and he drove around all the fire stations to visit them and see if he could find anything out about the men whose medals he'd got. And the reason that he did that, for many years, he worked for P&O on their cruise ships. Ended up chief purser, I think they call it. And he said they called in New Zealand at this place, and he went ashore, went into a shop, and there was a set of medals on the wall. And he just thought, well, they look interesting, so he bought them. And the chap had served in World War I, and then he had the New Zealand Fire Brigade Long Service Medal, and that's what did it. So that's his collecting theme. World War II buff. You're sort of particularly interested in the German side of things. Sean Priscilla jokingly called her the pinch. I shall always laugh now when I see that piece of film. Hello to the Kiwis. Well, it's gone 11. I feel guilty now that people have turned up. Do I just sit here till I fall asleep? And you can watch me sleep for... Those Elvis records from New Zealand, they're hard to find and they're expensive. I wish that they would re-release the New Zealand Christmas album with the cover, you know, the drawing of the church and that. And then I could buy that, because I can't afford an original. Paul, good night. Say hi to the missus. I will do. She'll be fast asleep now. I have to sneak in without waking her up. If I'm asleep, she's allowed to come in and wake me up. But for some reason, if it's the other way around, it doesn't work. Well, the humidity's gone down a bit now. It's not as bad as it was. We're using StreamYards. I can't really see any advantage. And apparently it doesn't record the stream unless you pay. So I think I'll switch back to the other way next time. Sturmgewehr, still searching for that elusive sentimental LP, as the eBay said. Pulled it, all right. I thought you bought it when it disappeared. I wonder why you did that. Strange. If I spot another one, I'll let you know. I do keep an eye on the Finnish record sellers. That's where I got mine from Finland. I use my bestest Finnish language that I can remember. I actually got it quite cheap, even with shipping. Sold it offline, yeah. There is also a CD version of it, which I've not seen, but it does exist. Right. I'm feeling a bit hungry now. I think I'll go down and make myself a sandwich. Let the cat back in. Wait till she stops grumbling at me. And then go to bed. Thanks for everyone who's stuck it out. To those who've just arrived, sorry. I'm never sure when to do these so that people can join in. So good night to everyone. Thanks for taking part. Enjoy the chat. We covered all sorts of subjects, including Mr. Ben. So you never know what you're going to talk about. And we found out that Mal was a policeman. So I'll say good night then. Thanks, Sean. Right. So like I said, I don't think this records the stream, so as I understand it, it won't be there to watch later. So I don't think I'll use this again. It didn't particularly add anything. Thanks, Harold. I'm going to do one on the various quad releases. I would like to have had the last two Japanese ones on stage and from Elvis in Memphis, but I can't see me picking those up anytime soon. So, but I want to do one on the quads. So we'll see. Maybe next week. We've got a couple of bank holidays coming up. So, right. I'll say good night to everyone then, and hopefully see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.